Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. Of course, my name is Bryce. I am joined again with my friend Catherine Edwards from across the pond. We're back. We're back. I've been traveling, so I'm so happy to be back with you, Catherine. How are you today before we get into this story?
Do you know, I'm so good today. I am flying high today. Really, really happy.
That's good. I hope, is it still, are you guys having a heat wave over in the UK?
Well, it's really muggy, but we've got a thunderstorm as we speak. So if you hear lots of claps of thunder, I think, but I actually, to be honest, the garden needed it, all the plants, all my vegetables, all my the animals, they need it. So I don't mind a bit of rain. But it's been an amazing summer. It really has.
I
How
love a
much
good
is
old
real and how much isn't? I mean, we all know about the weather manipulation, but that's one for another day.
I know. I love a good summer thunderstorm when it gets so hot that it just cracks like I mean that it's so peaceful when you have those summer thunderstorms. We always say when it rains in the South, we have some sayings in the South when it's really, really hot, but it rains. We have a saying, "Oh, the devil is beating his wife." That's what we say down here in the South. The devil is
I
beating his
said, I
wife.
always say God's moving his furniture.
I
Like,
like
when
that.
you squeak. So that's what I always say. And I don't even know where it came from. My parents must have said it, but I always say God's moving his furniture, just scraping that table across the room, feng shui going on,
Yeah,
clearing the energy.
absolutely. Well, I hope everybody in the United States, I know it is extremely hot up down in Florida. They're now getting up to 113 degrees, which is probably well and close to what, 45, 50
Wow.
Celsius. Incredibly hot. We're at that time of year. So I hope you guys are really being taking care of yourself. Again, you guys know Catherine and I are pet lovers, and even though animals do know how to handle weather sometimes better than we do, please bring your animals in if it gets really hot. We don't want any animals to suffer in this heat, especially with their paws on concrete that can be really hot. So,
And the sand, even on
yeah.
sand or even on grass when it's that hot, because animals can regulate, but not if they're enclosed and cut off from being able to go and find their own cool and shelter and everything. So it's a big deal. I had to be very careful with my guinea pigs when it's been so hot, but it's better
Yeah.
for them.
So
Mm.
let them in. Thank God we have, I mean, some modern conveniences. We do have air conditioning, so just make sure you're taking care of your little bubbas. I always laugh because Ravi does not like to swim. He's the one dog I've ever had who's not a swimmer, but what he does is he dips.
Yeah.
It's functional. When he gets hot, he just dips. And then he gets out. He doesn't understand this concept of swimming, like labs, stuff retrievers like this swim. He just dips. It's functional. It cools him off. So anyway, you guys, before we get into it today, I know this is a hot topic, but I just bear with us for a second, you guys. You know, Catherine and I are super shadow banned. So if you really enjoy our conversations, please make sure you're sharing our videos, liking. Likes help. If leaving comments help, even if you don't know what to leave, you can always leave a flag from where you're from or just a hi in the comment section. That super helps us. Before we were filming, Catherine and I said, we can take it as a compliment. Thank you.
Absolutely. And also, one other thing that I learned that I didn't realize that really helps is a lot of us listen to these videos. Like, I never sort of get a chance to sit down and watch videos, but I'll listen on the go while I'm doing other jobs or driving. And if you leave the video playing, even if you're like going to fill up at the gas station or shopping, just leave it playing and turn the volume down, because what really counts against you is when people click off really quickly and everything. So anything you can do, because we've got some really, really important topics coming up, and we really want to know your opinions on them.
Absolutely. And we thank you guys for hanging with us all this time and helping us get through this. There's not a whole lot, obviously, we can do about it. So we really appreciate you guys making an effort to find us and to watch these videos. But before we get into it, there's a few things I want to share, guys, just for the beginning. First of all, at the Esoteric Academy right now, we have a free 10-day shadow work challenge. It's totally free. You just have to I'll link it down below. And you can do it whenever you want. It's only 10 days. Again, this is for free, you guys, so anybody can do it. But if you do decide that you want to join the Esoteric Academy, if you like what we have to, if you like the 10-day challenge and you want an exercise platform, you want an at-home gym, you want accountability, you want a community to help you support you through your work, you can use Catherine's name, Catherine20, which I'll tag below, and you can get 20% off your first 6 months with us using Catherine's name. And you also get the first 7 days for free anyway. So that's what I always say, Catherine. Like, you can sign up for it, try it for 7 days, and then if you don't like it, you can always cancel. But that information will be down below, guys. Let me see, Catherine. Can you see
Can
me?
I just say, before you click off the academy, it's so important for people, because everything we're going through globally at the moment, The Esoteric Academy, there is something there for every age, every fitness level, every ability. But what it does is it gives you the comfort of being able to join the community and get support if you need it, but also do things in your time scale because everyone's busy, everyone's juggling loads of things. But the biggest change I've made this year is to really take back control of my health and fitness, and the difference it makes in terms of your, I hate saying mental health, but in terms of feeling less vulnerable, less controllable, less programmable. Because when you get that body moving and you feel more resilient, fitter, everything else in your life starts shifting. So wherever
Yeah.
you're at, whatever your starting point, you've got nothing left. Why not join and do the free 7-day trial and just see if you can get that extra support to make some shifts?
Yeah, and no one's watching you. No one's seeing you. You can be as silly as you want. You can look as stupid as you think you look on doing it at home because no one, the only person judging you is your dog, right? Like
Mm,
you're not, no one's watching you. And with that being said, Catherine, we do for our audience, we do have a live class coming up this Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern time, where I'm actually going to go through. This is on the Academy, so if you join up now, it's still in your free period. You can join us for the live class. We're going to go through active stretching and intentional movement to help you understand. That's my goal as a teacher. A teacher's job is to eventually not be needed. My goal is to give you as much information as I can so that you have the autonomy and the knowledge to really have intentional movement and to know how to use your body to your body's full potential. I mean, they're saying now, Catherine, so much is coming out about leg strength alone, that having really strong legs decreases your chances of dementia. It's directly connected to like your brain.
yeah.
And so it's just so vitally important. And we
Well,
also,
massively, because your calves are a pump, are
yeah,
really, really important. And most people know now that your heart is not just a pump, but pumping is your heart cannot pump all your blood around your body. It's got a lot more important functions. It
yeah.
does act a bit as a pump, but so do your calf muscles are really important as a pump. So anyone who's got blood pressure issues and anything like that, this is absolutely key. I can't wait. I'm out on Saturday on a organic farm visit. So will we be able to watch the replay,
Oh,
Bryce?
absolutely do. Every time we do, so every time I do any classes, live classes, we film it and then we put it up later for the people who missed it. So you can go into there
Perfect.
and it's under the live class. And when we get into the exercise portion of the live class, just so you guys know, we changed the camera. So the camera is just on me. So you're not being filmed, right? I can still see you in the camera when we're doing it, but you're not being filmed. So we respect your privacy and your vulnerability. We know that's vulnerable for people. So I can take it. So we changed the camera to put it on me. And so we have, can you see me change this, Catherine? Did that change
Yes.
Instagram?
Yeah.
We have opened up an Instagram account. Paula opened it for the Academy. We're putting a lot of health information on
Brilliant.
we're keeping the Academy on Instagram very just health focused more than anything. So just to kind of give you more inspiration about like, here's what strength training is anti-aging. After age 30, we lose 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade. Resisting training helps prevent muscle, boost metabolism, X, Y, and Z. So that's another way you can keep up with us. And if you're not on the Academy, if you just give us a follow anyway, you can get information about health, really. And also, guys, make sure if you are not to follow, I know you guys know Catherine's on YouTube. Obviously, her YouTube link is down below. But if you don't know, Catherine has a huge platform over on Instagram as well, where she gives a lot of really helpful tidbits, little tiny little advice. Not you have to. We've talked about this before, right, Catherine? People expect you to give them like a full prognosis. No, it's just little tiny tidbits of information about health that can kind of get you researching. And of course, Catherine, I'm
And
going to
very
put
much for your animals' health as well. It's key that I doing a lot of work on animal health there because they can get overlooked in today's world.
absolutely. And of course, Catherine's two websites will be down below as well, her life and her academy. And so you guys, please make sure you go and follow. I bring these up to date too. I know we don't typically do this, but also Substack. I am on Substack. You can join me there as well. But the reason why, Catherine, I wanted to show that I get to remind our audience too is because we are so punished here on YouTube that we have other places that you can reach us. And so if you want to follow us there, we would love to have you there. That's our mission, I think, Catherine. We talk about the law of one. I think you and I both are very much service to others. We like to
Yeah.
serve, and that's kind of our dharma. And so this is a way for us to serve on a global scale to help people with to whom much is given, much is expected. We've been given a lot of opportunities in our life and have spent many decades studying this. I don't think people really understand that about our backgrounds. We're not
Mm.
just two chicks talking on the internet. We actually had a life before YouTube where we were investing a lot of time and energy into understanding the body from both different perspectives. But it's really the same thing, really, even though
Yeah.
it had the health of the body and the mind and the spirit and how it all works in the social as the raw material calls us a social memory complex. They call us a social memory complex where we have, the mind body spirit complex where it's all happening in this one entity of a being in this life. And so anything you want to say before we get into Amy Bradley?
I think, do connect in with us because we are really happy for whether it's videos on YouTube, connecting in to see what do you need more help with because this community is really growing and it's really powerful and we've got such loyal people and we've all been helping each other through the last 5 years and I do think unfortunately we've got some interesting bumpy times ahead coming and therefore I think it's really important, don't be afraid to ask us for certain content you want, for certain guests you like, topics you'd like us to discuss, because what we want to do is just really, we do really, really mean that there's anyone who's watching, interacting with our videos, we're all sharing that energy, sharing the information, and keeping each other tip top in tough times.
100%. And we say, as we get into Amy Bradley, speaking of that helping each other, in this community, we've seen some wild conspiracies, haven't we,
Yeah,
Catherine, that really aren't helping anybody. They're just what the Cassiopeians call a junk conspiracy cul-de-sac, where there's conspiracies put out there that it's junk, but it
yeah.
keeps you in this cul-de-sac spinning, chasing your tail, while the real stuff is happening over here. And I text you when I was traveling because I was like, oh my God, there's this new Netflix documentary called Amy Bradley is Missing. I text you about it. And before we sat down and watched it, Catherine, I had just done a brief scan of like the Wikipedia page. And I normally
Mm.
don't take Wikipedia seriously, but before we were just laying in bed, we're going to watch it. Let me just familiarize myself with the case. And when I read the Wikipedia page, I was convinced before watching the documentary that Amy probably did just fall off the boat. But then after watching the documentary, hell no, she didn't fall off that boat. This is
Mm.
a real conspiracy and I find it very fascinating, Catherine, that it's come out around the same time that all this conversation around the particular urban legend list, we'll say, is being presented. So we've got two narratives here where we're
Yeah.
seeing a very obvious, we'll call it carpooling, a very obvious carpooling. So with that being said, Catherine, do you want to tell our audience who are not familiar with this case what Amy Bradley is missing is about?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard of Amy Bradley being in the UK, and when you suggested it, I was round at my mum's. My mum has Netflix, so I was like, let's watch this, and we were just hooked because it's just so sad. And obviously, Netflix you're taking with a pinch of salt, but that we're going to come through as we talk through this today about which bits the family agree with from the Netflix series, which bits they didn't agree with, and that is important. But Amy Lynn Bradley was 23 years old when she disappeared from Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas cruise ship in March 1998. She was last seen around 5:30 a.m. asleep on her cabin balcony. Now, she then disappeared, and we're going to talk through some of the significance of what happens, what we know, what we don't know. She was legally declared dead in 2010, but the case still remains open, and the FBI still have a $25,000 reward out there. And what was really chilling is the Netflix documentary came out in July the 16th, and this was right at the time when the E-list
Yeah.
and we're saying these words, you know the score, guys, because people often, I am just going to explain, people ask us why we don't say so many words or say some of the news channels and the bigger channels. So when you're shadow banned, everything in your video gets scrutinized in way more detail. So it's frustrating, but we play the game to be on here. But it's very interesting as to why they chose that time to go out. And there's so many different ways which we're going to talk through about how significant that is. But what was really so sad about this case is we're going to see there were so many red flags as you go through it. So many supposed sightings, which is just absolutely heartbreaking for the family. And connecting to the E list, one of the things I think is we've really got to connect. People listening here, we know we're all entangled. Energetically, everything is entangled. Quite often, there's a lot of distraction tactics that come out. And there are no coincidences when things like this come out together. In some shape or form, it's deliberate. So, one of the things we want to try and unpack today is why.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, back in 1998 too, when this happened, and I know most of our audience is remembers, are around our age, Catherine. But I do have some younger people here. Back in 1998, when we look at some of the things that happened and the family now reflects back on, or like that was weird, we didn't really know much about
Yeah,
carpooling. And we're saying carpooling for a particular reason, guys, as Catherine explained, the T word. We didn't know much about this enterprise, we'll say. We didn't know how big it was. We know it happened, but it wasn't, as common knowledge as it is now. And so, to understand that, I believe, Catherine, that Amy was marked from the moment she got on the boat.
absolutely. There's sorry to interrupt, but there was so many like if you haven't watched the documentary, that what we're saying today is not going to spoil it for you. Please do watch it. But there were so many chills down your spine moments, like when the parents were saying, "Why did the waiters keep coming up and asking for her by name and saying where she was?" And I 100% believe that she was. I agree with you that she was marked from the moment she came on, and they were just looking for their opportunity.
Well, Catherine, have you ever been on a cruise? I meant to ask you that at the beginning.
I would never, ever, ever gone cruise. Although when I was really, really young, and it still holds a lot of trauma, when I was about 4 years old, we went on a boat from the UK to Spain, um, just for a holiday with one of my mum's friends. And at that stage, I was so small. I was not with my sisters and their two children, and the big metal doors, which are like the flood doors, I couldn't open. And so we'd go running around the ship. It wasn't a cruise ship, it was just a boat going from UK to Spain. And I was stuck in there for like hours because I wasn't strong enough. And it was terrifying. And I don't like the sea anyway. I'm pretty sure I was trying to Atlantis. I really don't like the sea. But cruise ships give me the absolute creeps. You are trapped. So no,
Yeah, I'm not a
I wouldn't
fan.
go on a cruise ship if I was paid to go on one.
We have a lot. I mean, I know a lot of people. So, from where I live in the United States, we're very close to the Caribbean islands. So, a lot of my friends growing up, many of us, if you're from this area, you've probably been to Jamaica many times. The islands, it's like an hour flight, 45-minute flight. It's easy for us to get down there. Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States. I know England has some territories. So, and Amy and her family are from North Carolina. Actually, the way her dad said water, water, it reminds me of the way my parents say it. So listening to her dad, that's like an old school Southern accent. So North Carolina, very close to me. So this, even though that was her first time on a cruise, I wanted to express that to people who are not from this area of the world is this is a common vacation that people go
Yeah.
on. Like this is very common. And I think a lot of times, Catherine, because you're stuck on these ships, I think some parents, maybe this is an important conversation for them to hear because they might think, oh, my kids they can't drive after
Mm,
they've been, they can't, they're safe, they're on the ship. Where can they go? Like we can be a little bit more relaxed because, we're all here on the ship together. I can see how a parent might feel like this would be a great family
yeah.
vacation. But after this story came out, I've been going down the rabbit hole of all these other cases. This is
Mm,
common with cruise
it's
ships
really common.
for girls to go missing. And it's mostly girls. I know boys, this happens to boys, but it's mostly girls. What you talk about the waiters, Catherine, there was one story in particular that I was listening to, and this horrified me. A woman was there, a family vacation with her 8-year-old daughter. Her 8-year-old daughter was swimming in with the kids, having fun. She's 8. And this guy that worked in the vicinity kept talking about how pretty her blue eyes were. And the mother said at first it was like, "Oh, thanks," but after a while it started to get make the mother very uncomfortable because he would find the family. He would always go over and above talking about this little girl. They walked into their cabin one night and they would for the kids they would put the staff would make like the towels and animals when they would come in and clean and the kids' bed would have but someone had drawn big blue eyes onto the towel of an elephant. And at that
Oh,
point, the mother decided when they poured it at the next stop, they were going to exit the boat and fly back because she knew in her gut,
yeah,
obviously, these are big signs, that this was weird. And whether it was just a guy who had a weird fetish or it was leading to something bigger, the mother did the right thing. I probably would have, I mean, it gives me chills. I got chills just thinking about it. Like, If you have an 8-year-old little kid and someone goes, "Oh, she's got such pretty eyes," that's very different than every single day a creepy man.
Yeah, completely. And following your gut. And I think you've just said something really, really important there. It's like when you start looking into this, so you listen to this and you think, oh my God, this is so rare because we don't hear about it. But what we've got to remember, like back in 1998, there wasn't the internet in the level that there is now. But even now, we assume just because we've got internet and TikTok and Instagram and things, but we're still so censored about what information gets out. So anyone who's been following how many young people go missing, and that's not even the adults, Bryce. So we always talk about the little under 16s that go missing.
And even
Um,
23.
Exactly. And people don't believe those figures and they're horrifying because we only hear about cases like Madeleine McCann. Now,
Yeah,
she was 23, so she was a young, independent woman. We don't even hear about the missing figures for those.
yeah.
And what's so horrendous is when you see something like this and you start doing some basic research yourself, you're like, my God, why is this hidden from all of us? Because I think if most people knew how many young women, and I'm sure there's probably men or boys as well, go missing from cruise ships, that it would really hit the industry hard, big time.
Oh, and that's what people are starting to do, and a lot of people are coming out claiming. And when I say this, guys, this is alleged, and I
Mm,
know I want to make it very clear that I think Catherine and I, out of everyone on the internet, do understand nuance, and that
yeah,
just because one industry is bad does not mean that every single person in that industry is bad. I understand that there are people who work for cruise ships that are wonderful, incredible people and would never be a part of anything like this. So I want to make that very clear. However, there are allegations that these cruise ships, part of their main tactic is to mark people. They
yeah,
take you out to sea. One thing that was chilling, Catherine. So with these boats, and again, I've never been on a cruise either. It doesn't sound like fun to me. I that
yeah,
doesn't. I'm like you, Catherine. That doesn't. But I get the allure. And as this woman, they had this advocate, this woman who had lost her daughter in a cruise from like California to Mexico. And so she's become this like passengers advocate. And I mean, I'm getting like chills talking about it.
mm,
She said, "What happens, especially if you're docking because this is an American family, so that's why I'm using America because there's cruise ships all over the world. But let's use the Americans because the Bradleys are American. You're docking on this boat in Puerto Rico, which is an American territory. This is an American company. You go into this cruise, everything is like an American city. You think you're under this jurisdiction of America,
yeah,
but what happens when you get 12 miles out to sea? You're in international waters. And as this woman brought up, if you want to unalive someone, do it on a cruise ship because that body will never be found and you will never be charged because it is international waters are some of the most lawless places. You don't have
absolutely.
jurisdiction. And I thought that was such a good point. And I don't think parents even think about that, do they,
Well,
Catherine?
no one would know. I mean, I think a lot of our audience will know because a lot of us over the last 5 years have been looking into how awful the maritime law
Yeah.
system is that we're all governed under. And that's why, of course, a lot of the so-called elites, I like to call them the parasites, not the elites, but that's why they have islands. That's why they go on boats because when you're out on a boat, as you say, I think it's 12
12
miles off.
miles, not that long, 12
You
miles.
are
Yeah.
then basically lawless in low man's right. You're in no one's territory.
Yeah.
So it's so hard. So things like the FBI haven't got the jurisdiction, or MI5 haven't. So then to investigate is a nightmare. And of course, criminals know this. And so one of the other things I think that was so tragic about Amy's story is the parents won the trip.
Yes, they
And
want
then
it through their
they got
work.
told
Yes.
to their work, and then they got told, oh, wow, you can take your grown up children as well. So it was such an excitement for them. And again, what should have been like, wow, this is gifted to us. I've won it, then turned into ruining their lives. And for me, it was like this sliding doors
Yeah.
moment. And hindsight is a wonderful thing. We've talked in so many programs, particularly when we've talked about the cults and with people like Cathy O'Brien and things. We've talked so much about there's a deliberate plan over the last few generations to detach people from their intuition, to detach
Yeah.
people from gut. And they do that in so many different ways by poisoning our minds, poisoning our bodies, to normalizing trauma everywhere. frequencies. We all know it so many different ways, jibby jabs. But what was so sad about this is like when you see the parents and the brother afterwards, and they're like, oh my God, we thought this was odd.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, why? And then there were the pictures. So you know when you go to like on cruise ships, or if you go to holiday resorts or water parks and things, they'll take pictures and then you put the pictures up and you can buy the pictures. And when the family went to buy their picture of the four of them, so Amy and her brother and the parents,
One.
her
Yeah.
picture had gone, and they were like, "Why has someone taken her picture?"
Yeah. That's
So
what
there
was
was
the
so
biggest
many creepy, creepy things.
creepy thing. So that's one of the biggest like red flags. And of course they were weirded out about it. But of course in 1998, you're probably thinking, oh, somebody accidentally bought it. Maybe it got lost. But they literally now Catherine with Amy. So here's Amy for you guys. That's her family. This is a very
Yeah,
close family, very Southern family. A lot of people have tried to create conspiracies around the family. Personally, I don't think the family had anything to do with this at all.
I
At
don't.
all. I think that they are victims as well, and I feel my heart bleeds. I can't imagine. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I think about my nieces and nephews. I cannot imagine what that would feel like
Yeah.
for that to happen. This was literally the night of her disappearance. That was the dinner before the captain's dinner.
Which
And
I'm going to call an abduction because,
yeah,
we'll come into ideas of this, but I think I've had, I've got loads of rescue animals. I've had cats go missing for a week, and it's the most horrendous. Like, there's so many awful things, and as a parent, you're so protective over your children, but the not knowing and
yeah.
that feeling of helplessness, and you're going to see as we go through some of the things that happened. I'd love you to explain, Bryce, about how uncooperative the ship's crew
Oh my
were.
God, I
It's just
honestly
heart-wrenching. I was literally like, these poor, poor family. It was so horrendous.
so horrendous. Well, just to back it up, you guys, for you guys. So obviously in the Caribbean, which is where the E Island was, that island. So this is the same vicinity. There's all these little islands, and these cruise ships will dock. Like I think they got on in Puerto Rico, but there's some that come from Texas, and they'll dock and they'll take they'll cruise to these islands. You'll spend a day, you'll get back on the boat and you'll cruise to a different island, right? So that's the whole lawlessness but then when you get to the islands you're dealing with international governments.
Yeah,
So there are a few days on the cruise and they were coming into that the night of her disappearance. They were going to be docking in early that morning into Carousel, which is near Aruba. Interestingly enough, Natalie Holloway, remember Natalie Holloway, it is alleged that the day before they had been in Aruba and that Amy had gone to the same bar as Amy Holloway would 7 years later. So at this point, possibly this could be the same. These are tiny islands, guys. These are not
yeah, tiny.
tiny islands, tiny
Yeah,
governments. I know Carousel. I don't know if the Dutch still own Carousel, but I know at one point they did. Beautiful islands. And so that night, as they're leaving Aruba and they're chugging along over to Carousel, they have their captain's dinner. They get dressed up. That was those pictures. And then her and her brother go and change, and they're going to go out because there's nightclubs on the boat, and they're with their parents for a while. The parents say, "Hey, we're going to bed." They all were in the same room because they won it, so the whole family staying in the same room. And her and her brother end up going to this bar, and they see Amy, or he sees Amy talking to the bass player named
yeah.
Alistair Douglas. His name was Yellow, and she's having this banter with him. Bradley, people have come very hard on her brother Brad, but he was the little brother. Like he was
Yeah,
these are kids, you guys. Like stop it. These who Brad is now and who Brad was then are two different people. Who I was at 22, who I am at 42, two totally different people. That was his big sister. And so
and
they
again, I think what you said earlier, sorry to interrupt, but when you watch the documentary, there's a big difference. Like if you're in a city centre,
yeah.
you might wait and go home with your sister, but they weren't. They were on an enclosed boat where all she had to do was walk, and there were so many people up at that time of night.
Oh yeah.
Like it was deserted. Half the boat was up
Oh,
partying.
young 20-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah,
And younger because this is United States. The drinking age at this point was 21. It had gone up
yeah,
to 21. So even though Brad and Amy were of drinking age, when you're on international water, for the kids who are not, who are like
Yeah.
18, 19, they can legally. So there's a lot of young people. And of course, Brad's talking to the girls. You know, he's a 21-year-old boy.
Mm.
He just sees his sister, like that's his sister. So he ends up leaving a little bit earlier than Amy. He said he sees her, he waves. They can read their key cards. They can't read when key cards exit, though. They can only read when people enter. He enters the cabin at 3:35 a.m. She enters with her key card literally 5 minutes later, 3:40 a.m. So they're on the balcony of their boat, have just kind of coming down from the night. Brad says, "Listen, I'm gonna go lay down." I think they were on the fold-out sofa while their parents were in the bed. We have to get up early to dock a carousel, and Amy decides to stay out there. A few hours pass. The father claims he wakes up and he looks and he sees Brad in this on the sofa, and then he looks out the window and he can see Amy's legs like she
Mm.
had fallen asleep on the lounge chair. And
Mm.
so now I want to, before I forget this, Catherine, so many people have talked about the possibility that she could have accidentally been drunk and fell over the railing. But the FBI agent kind of cleared this up. And I know this from
Yeah.
people who've gone on cruises. You guys, these businesses aren't stupid. They're not going to be liable for accidents. The railing of a cruise. Now I'm 5'5", you're 5'6", right, Catherine?
Yeah.
So we're kind of the same height. This FBI agent was over 6 feet tall, and he said the railing came up to like here on him. So for
Mhm.
Catherine and me, if we were to we would probably have to stand on our tiptoes or pull up a stool to actually even see over the railing
Exactly. Let alone get over it.
and
Yeah.
accidentally fall over. So
Yeah.
I think that Amy was my height 5'5". So even if she was now, according to the bill that they could see, because everything gets charged to your room, she drank like 6 beers from 6 p.m. to like 3 a.m.
Mm.
That's not a lot, especially since they say she could handle her alcohol. Like
Yeah.
now, this doesn't. Somebody could have brought her a drink. We
Yeah.
don't know that, but we do know from what she purchased from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. I mean, that's one beer every hour and a half. That's not a
And
lot.
also, there's no evidence from any of the people that saw her or anything to say that she was really drunk or anything. There were
No,
so
yeah.
many people that saw her, so many people that saw her dancing with Yellow, the bass player from the band. And then are you going to cover about who then saw her, the two girls seeing her go
Yes.
off with
So
Yellow?
after the father woke up at like 5:30 in the morning, saw his kids, went back to sleep, by 6 a.m., he got up again and Amy was gone. Now,
Mm.
what's funny to me, Catherine, is because these cabins are so small, like they're smaller than
Mm.
like hotel rooms, you would think the father would have heard the door open, especially if someone knocked. So I think there has been alleged, I have to be careful how I say this, that Amy was looking for the wacky tobacco,
Mm.
which back then might have been a bigger deal than it is now. And so
Yeah.
it's alleged that Yellow was going to hook her up with some, and but meet her at a certain time. And so what a lot of people think happened, because she left her shoes, she walked barefoot, she took her cigarettes with her, she left her shoes, she changed her shirt because the shirt she was in that night was sitting on the chair. And then that's when the other girls, there were some two younger girls, and they interviewed one of them in the docu series. Obviously, she's older now because 27 years have passed, but they were like early 20s too,
Yeah.
teens, early 20s. And her friend had been at the club with the kids, her brother and Amy, and they couldn't sleep. So they went to sit on the top of the deck. And at this point, the boat was getting close to carousel. So this seems like
Mm.
something that people would do. They would go and watch to see it
Mm.
entering. It's the
And
beauty of
watch
it
the
all.
sunrise and things is
Yes.
common.
And these
Yeah.
are young whippersnappers. They can handle, at that point, that
Yeah.
sounds like hell on earth for me to stay up all night. Like I just,
Yeah. But these age, that's very
oh,
common when you're that
yes.
age. Yeah,
I probably
absolutely.
would have done that at that age, right?
Mm.
And been fine the whole day. So these two girls are sitting at the edge of the boat watching, and they see Amy and Yellow walking together. Now they don't know the exact time, but it's alleged that this was after 5:30, so right after her father had seen her before he woke up, and they saw her and Yellow getting on the elevator and going up back to the club. But then Yellow comes down by himself. And they said what was weird is that Yellow had been talking to all the girls and flirting, and they saw him coming and they thought, oh, he was going to say hey, but he just walked by them in a fury. So this leans a lot of credit to this theory that she was going to get maybe some wacky
Yeah.
Tibet, some devil's lettuce, and got tricked, basically, we'll say, and was either I think she probably was maybe with something
Yeah.
to knock her out. Now after they realized that Amy was missing, that's when Catherine Wink, because the behavior of the cruise ship was
Oh,
absolutely appalling. Appalling.
just heartbreaking. Just because everyone knows that if someone goes missing, the quicker you raise the alarm, the more chance of success. I mean, it's common sense, isn't it? Don't
Yeah,
let the perpetrators get too far away. And also catch them when they're still in a state of stress and, panic and, the deed's just been done.
yeah,
And the boat just did nothing. They didn't want to lock the boat down, even though it was coming into port.
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, they wouldn't lock the boat down because they said they didn't want to stress out the other passengers, even though they knew that she was missing.
They had like 2,000 other passengers that paid good money. And I said to you off camera, if I was on a cruise and somebody, a stranger's daughter that I didn't know went missing, I would be absolutely more than happy to
Yeah,
lock the boat down because as a human being, that is way more important. Somebody's life is way more important than me getting off the boat and going to carousel.
yeah,
Like, and I think most passengers, because some of the passengers were interviewed about this. I had
yeah,
witnessed her. They talk about the weird neighbor. Yeah, there was a weird neighbor. I just thought he was a weirdo. I don't think he had anything to do with her. I think this is my opinion. So don't come after me, cruise ships. This is just my opinion. I agree with these people of saying that they use these businesses to mark women because you're
yeah,
on your vacation, especially if you're young, you're relaxed, you're not, they mark these women and they use the cruise ship to transport these women into this business, we'll say. And guys, we have to be very careful about, please be careful in the comment section. This enterprise, we'll say. So my opinion is they did something to make her unconscious. They
yeah,
were able to put her away. They allowed, now people are like, well, they have to scan to go out. I'm sure the employees have a back exit. Don't be silly. I'm sure there's a way
yeah.
to get stuff off of the cruise,
I
especially.
will ask that actually, because I know someone who was a dancer on a cruise ship, so I'll ask that. But obviously, that's
Yeah.
in modern time. I don't know the rules and regulations, the technology was a lot less then.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
weren't all being tracked like everywhere now. If
No
someone
cell
goes
phones.
missing now, your cell phone, even when it's off, I mean, they're tracking us, they're listening to everything we're saying, they've got all our data, even when it's off. And but back then we didn't have things like that. So I think I'm pretty sure that the crew would be allowed to get on and off without the same controls as the passengers doing.
Especially if someone high up in the boat or in the business is behind this
It's
industry
involved.
too.
Yeah.
The guys they interviewed who worked for the cruise ship did themselves no favors.
No favors at all.
Ross.
It was horrific. They complete couldn't give a F
Yeah.
with that.
I mean, if I were them, I've been like, I feel terrible. We were following the protocol. This has been a nightmare I've lived with. I'm so sorry to the family. Like,
Yeah.
they were still very cold about it and very just,
So cold and very suspicious. So, I mean, again, all allegedly, and different people react differently to stress, to being on camera. It's a long while ago, but something like this you can't forget. Trauma is ingrained in your memory. So it's not like someone saying, what top did you buy 27 years? A girl's gone missing,
yes.
massive, never found. That's not something you forget about if you were involved in any way of being on that ship. And it's so heartbreaking because so many missed opportunities. Now, talk about Bryce. Tell everyone about the sightings that have been since
There have
then.
been some very credible sightings of Amy. We
Very.
did
You have
have
some of
like
the pictures there.
let me see if I can pull up. Now we do have the one sighting I'm going to get to at the end with the picture of the girl. We'll say the advertisement. I have it right here. But the first sighting we had was a Canadian guy was down in Carousel and it's scuba diving and snorkeling, one of the two, and he saw her and Catherine, what's so funny is at this point he didn't know who she was, but when you see your body doesn't lie. When
Yeah,
you can look at people on the beach, you could see a chick with two guys on the beach and think nothing of it because they're not giving any weird.
yeah,
But he said like she was walking towards him, and a guy that looked just like yellow was with her. And she had the tattoos, the Tasmanian devil. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine. He had gone back home and seen like an unsolved mysteries or something. And that's when he realized he had seen
yeah.
Amy. Now, from
Yeah.
what I
And
listened,
he wasn't meant to be there. Oh, well, I'm
no,
getting confused because there's the other one that saw
that
him
was
in
in
the
the, oh, I could,
park.
the military guy.
The
Which
military. We'll come
I
on to
think
that. Sorry, I
I
was
actually
getting
have a theory
confused.
about him, but
Yes, good
the
why, yeah.
Canadian guy went back home, saw an Unsolved Mysteries because it was on Unsolved Mysteries, and realized like I saw her, I saw that girl.
Yeah,
He actually contacted not only Unsolved Mysteries, but I've listened to her brother interview. He actually contacted the Bradleys privately, flew down to North Carolina to meet with them. That's how passionate he was. And it makes me emotional because even I don't want to get, don't want to cry, but even in this world where there's so many bad people out there, like the fact that this complete stranger
yeah,
from another country would remember it, would recognize it because it felt weird, see it, go so far as to not just call Unsolved, but actually pay for it himself to go to North
yeah,
Carolina to sit down with the Bradleys to help these people do everything he can because he's like the fact that he was just some random bystander happened to see her, and here's the cruise ship doing nothing, and this random stranger is literally spending his own money because
yeah.
that really touched my heart. And I think hearing, and he that was spoken about in another interview with Brad Bradley with the brother because they didn't really talk about him traveling. They interviewed him in the documentary, but he was, I saw this girl, I saw her, she is
Mm,
alive. This was like 6 months later. Now,
yeah.
the military guy, oh, pissed me off.
It completely pissed me off because he was basically obviously in a brothel looking for
Yeah,
prostitutes.
yeah,
It's what to correct me if it's
yeah,
and basically he shouldn't have been there when he was in the navy or military and he shouldn't have been there. So he saw her, she approached him with another woman, I think,
yeah.
um, and said, I'm being held against my will, and he never did anything about it because he's like he would obviously frequented brothels regularly because he was like, you know what these places, the girls have come up with all sorts of stories. But he remembered it. So again, what you said there, he remembered enough to, there was a bit of him that he knew that was true, what she was saying, she was in trouble. But he said he didn't report it till years later because he wasn't going to be there and he'd have been sort of in real trouble with the
He
Navy
would
and
have
been
lost his
fined.
benefits or something.
Yeah,
My pseudo father-in-law, I'll just call him my father-in-law for lack of, I watched this again with them. Like I watched it with my boyfriend, then I sat down with them, my boyfriend's parents, and I watched it with them on their big screen. And my father-in-law was in the military for a very long time. And I asked him like how would, and he was like, that guy is just a coward. He was like, I
yeah,
would immediately gone, immediately
yeah,
drawn my we done something. And I believe him because I've heard stories about, and so
yeah.
there is speculation on TikTok, and this is just allegations that many people think he bought her,
Yeah,
and that's why he was afraid to, because he
yeah,
actually bought her. But she told him her story was that she owed somebody $200
yeah,
and she tried to buy, and she ended up trusting the wrong person, and she needed help, because they've gotten rid of her passport at this point, like
yeah,
anything that could get, so, and he turned, and as and I'm sure like even if I saw a British military man, if I saw a military person from a country that I knew were
yeah.
allies with my country, I would feel like
I
I
would
could,
approach them. You
yes,
think there's someone I can trust to help me now,
yeah,
and the amount of times that the family and her, if it was her, and I strongly believe it was, just
yes.
based on gut and intuition and the evidence that was presented, that they were let down is absolutely heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching.
It's disgusting. And then the woman, a few years later, was in Barbados, which is another island down
Yeah,
there. And she was in a souvenir shop and she went to the bathroom and there was this scuffle that happened. A girl and a man walked into the bathroom. She's in the stall. They're having this scuffle. She walks out. She asked the girl if she's okay. I can't remember the whole dialogue.
yeah,
She says, "My name is Amy Bradley." She thought she said, "I'm from West Virginia." No, sorry, not North Carolina. They're from Virginia. She said, I don't know why I thought North Carolina. They're from Virginia. She saw Amy Bradley said West Virginia, but she said Virginia. I'm from Virginia. And something happened, and but she heard Amy say when she was behind the stall, the guys were saying something like, "You need to be ready at this time." And
yeah,
she goes, "Well, can we see the children afterwards or something?" And
yeah,
they said yes, and she sounded happy. Why that woman didn't do much after that, because obviously this was a
yeah,
bad situation. I don't know. But this opens up theories because she said the children. So
yeah.
the theories that Amy has not tried to contact her parents and like she stopped looking for her parents because she could potentially have children at this point
Mm,
and their lives are in danger. Now,
yeah,
Catherine, you're a mom. If this happened to you at a young age and you had children and you knew you couldn't contact would you then put your children first?
Yes, absolutely, and 100%. And also, there's so many threats that could be done, but absolutely, you put your children first because the fact that she was in that situation showed that she was completely out of control. And I don't think I don't know any mother that wouldn't or father that wouldn't put their children first.
I don't seem to,
What's
correct
she
me if
going
I'm
to do?
wrong.
She's not going to be able to run off and leave
No,
her
they've
children.
got her children in a situation, obviously, where
Yeah,
she doesn't have she's not in full custody of them. And so they're
yeah,
using her, their children, to keep her there.
yeah,
And so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, but it felt like when that came up, that at least for the mother, Iva, there seemed to be some relief
yes,
that this is why she's not reaching out to us because she
yeah,
herself is a mother now and she's trying to protect her own children, their
yeah,
grandchildren. It did break my heart though when Brad said that at 48 he's never had children, and
yeah,
because he's watched what his parents have gone through with Amy.
yeah. Yeah, and
That broke my heart.
it absolutely would do, it would absolutely break you, it's just absolutely heart-wrenching. And but the courage they've had going forward. And then there was the final one about the
The photo.
PORN site.
So back in the early
Yeah,
2000s, they were emailed this picture right here, you guys. And
look at the chin and the nose and the eyes. And
it was basically somebody saying that this was a site for a particular type of vacation. You could rent basically a person for this, like, we'll say exotic vacation.
yeah,
The FBI actually compared, they did a lot of analysis with her with these two
the
pictures.
hairline, the jaw, the nose, the ears, and everything was a match.
Yeah, absolutely matches her 100%. And we don't see any of the tattoos. Now, what's funny is, I wonder if they have it up here. They had made a missing, here's one, a missing picture, a missing poster with Amy, and they age regressed her. Look at this picture compared to this picture, and I'll make it clear in the editing process, guys. But I was laughing with my boyfriend. I was like, they've age regressed her to look like a 40-year-old carpool housewife,
Yeah,
not a 40-year-old, at this point she's in her 50s, who has actually been tortured and abused for
yeah,
decades. She's not going to look like a soccer mom.
no,
There's not, this is more realistic of what she
yeah,
looks like now. Now at her age, so now let's see, we're in 2025. She was 20, so she would be in her early 50s now.
yeah,
I guarantee you that she's not, I'm going to say for lack of a better word, guys, I know this might sound insensitive. I don't mean it to sound it, but of course we have to be careful about what we say on YouTube. I don't think she's a product anymore. I don't
yeah,
think they want that age anymore. I think both Catherine and I we're not at the age that they're looking for. That's one thing, one reason why we're safe is that they're not looking
yeah.
for us. We're too old. But I think they're able to hold her because of her children, and I think they're possibly using her to
Mm.
help coax other girls, maybe. And I don't, at this point, it's nuanced, right? Like, what do you do? You're trying to
Well,
protect children.
yeah, I mean, that's a really good point you've just made there because look at what's come out about the e-files and
Yeah,
about when they coerced the women, allegedly, they had to recruit other women, etc., or else. And so this is the way these things are. There's so many, it doesn't matter whether it's Scientology, which we're going to come on to in a
yeah,
minute. It doesn't matter whether it's a certain ring that you know what we're talking about, where they're used as commodities and things. This is the game plan. And the thing is, there's so many threats when you're talking about even hurting the parents, I mean, there's so much publicity around this. They
yeah,
could have been threatening her parents if she'd have contacted them, her brother.
right.
But very good chance that she would have children. And look at the Cathy O'Brien case. This is what they
Yeah.
do. It's very easy to know where people's weak points are. And unfortunately, when you're given substances to make you not in your right mind and controllable, then what are your choices? But what I couldn't understand is from the site where you can buy certain holidays, where there was that picture of her with the permed hair. I don't understand how you could not find her from that. I
There
don't
was there was
understand.
another interview I listened to where they talked about that. They immediately tried to find it. The VPN was somewhere in Venezuela. And they actually tried to buy her. Her name
Mm,
was Jazz, I believe. They tried to purchase her. And it always fell through. So I don't know. And this comes into one question somebody said on my TikTok, which I was, I understand where this person was coming from, but I also think have we learned nothing over these past few years? They were like, I don't think they would have taken Amy because she would have been a bad target because her parents obviously went ballistic and have been pursuing this ever since. Like, why wouldn't they pick a target that's more easily lost? And part of me is like, do you understand what this enterprise is?
Yeah.
Like they're not challenged by anyone. They
No.
don't care. They're protected. I think that this enterprise connects all the way up to the highest levels. They're not going to get caught. Look what they and the person claimed like they wouldn't be able to get away with it. Well, they did get away with it. What
And
do you
they do
think?
every minute of every day. I mean,
Yeah,
there's more slavery in the
yeah,
world today than there's ever been in all our countries. Everyone who's watching this, we've probably got the highest degree of slaveries in all of our countries that we've ever had. And the point is this is to me, when people talk about living in a simulation, this to me is what it really means of living a situation. We think that we can get access to information. We can only get access to information that we're allowed to access. Everything's
exactly.
online now. They can wipe, they can change anything. And enough people have found this. There's enough people, enough evidence. I mean, these islands are small. They don't even find missing young people. They put so little. Once you're an adult, who goes looking for them? Very few people. It's just not dealt the same way.
Well, and as this person was saying, because her parents, when these particular women go missing, the parents, but I'm like I'm saying, they got away with it. Like the parents have been blowing the whistle since 1998.
Completely.
Where's Amy? They got away with it. Like, so
Yeah.
that doesn't mean, and I get what they're saying because I would have been the same way, Catherine. If we had gone missing at that age, I know our families would have been all over doing everything they could, spending every last penny. I know the Bradleys have just emptied their
Not
retirement.
sure my mum would have, but hey. She used to say when we were babies, she'd put me and my twin sister out in the pram by the road and hope someone would take us, but they didn't. But my dad would have, my lovely dad would have.
Yes, your dad. But,
Yeah.
but that still doesn't, we would have got, if they wanted us, if we were in a position where they could have taken us, they would have. And nothing our parents could have done would have
No,
brought us back.
because these people are so clever and I
Yeah.
don't care. The thing is, however good a parent you are, you cannot keep an eye on your children all the time. Look, you go they go to kids clubs, they go to school, they go to gymnastics club, they go to football club. There's all these things, but the worst thing is often, and I do not think the family are involved at all, but it can be people you know, it can be people in the most, if there's one thing we've learned over the last 10 years is normally it's the people who are in so-called the trusted positions that are often the least trustworthy.
And this
um
was a 23-year-old. She was a legal
yeah,
adult. What was her parents going to do? Helicopter? No.
yeah,
She had already graduated university. She already
she's
had
got her own place, you
she just
know.
rescued a bulldog. Like she was
Yeah,
ready for her like this was just a family. Now I want to get into I'm not even going to touch on the lesbian thing, you guys.
uh,
That's so that was such an irrelevant in my opinion part. Somebody even said in the comment section they wouldn't have taken her because she's do you really think they're asking for your consent? Like I
it,
don't understand the mind of people. Like they don't give a
I
shit.
do
Like
think there was a deliberate ploy. See, this is why I don't trust the Netflix at all, because it protects Yellow
yeah,
quite a lot if they make out that she was a lesbian, not bisexual. Because if she was interested in, she was enjoying his flirting and, you know, enjoying the company of him, which she certainly to all the witnesses looked like she was. The fact that the Netflix made a play that she was so-called a lesbian, which she wasn't, she was bisexual and she had a
yeah,
boyfriend at the time of her disappearance,
yeah.
puts you off the scent of that. And so these things I do not believe are accidents.
Right. Well, and part of the theory was that she unalived herself because her parents
Yeah,
couldn't accept the fact. And they covered that. And the 90s were different. Of course, the parents were probably shocked when she said
yeah,
she was bisexual, but why would they take her on a family vacation? Why would they be supporting her move and her life if they didn't? And as Brad said in one interview, they made it sound like she had just come out as being
yeah,
bi. She came out in 1995. This was
yeah.
1980. This was totally blown out of proportion to put this idea in our heads that she took her own self out, which
And that she didn't go off with a man.
Right, which is absolutely not the case because people who have just rescued a bulldog, gotten their own apartment, gotten their brand new car, new job, who are excited about the future, they don't just decide to themselves, right? Like that
She
doesn't.
interacted with so many people on the ship. You know, a lot of people recognized her and knew her
She
because she
was
was a really bubbly
fun.
character. And, you know, 2,000 people isn't a lot of people at all. If you spent a few weeks just with you there, you do recognize faces. And I
Yeah,
think, in terms of one of the things that I think is really important is when people are discussing this, there's a big difference between, are people really looking for the truth or are we looking for sensationalism? And what we've seen in the whole truther market is just distracting people with looking for sensationalism, where, because all the while your attention's grabbed by something like this, like such a red herring about her
yeah.
sexuality. I mean, it's irrelevant, as you
It's
say. None
relevant.
of
Yeah.
this is consensual.
Yeah.
If she's been taken somewhere, it's not consensual. They don't care what your
Don't give a
preferences
shit
are.
what
You've
you're who
got no say in anything.
where's HR? Who are you going to complain to? You
Yeah.
gonna file like, they don't give that was the stupidest to be like, well, she was like, they don't give a shit. They
Well,
don't
it's like
care.
everyone's saying now it's illegal. Well, Hillary Clinton doesn't care, does she?
No.
Allegedly.
Like,
But you know, this is so ridiculous. Anything you pick now was going on in the world, they do not care because no one can stop them. Look at the P. Diddy files. Look what's
yeah.
happened there. Look at the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell's in jail, supposedly. Look at the fact that they can't even have tapes that are the same door and haven't got missing things. And originally there was no tape recordings, and now there are for Jeffrey Epstein when he was supposedly unalived himself. It's all made up. It's
And they're
all.
lying to our face, and we know they're lying. They don't care, you guys. They
Don't
don't care.
care.
All of these people trying to come up with reasons. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Say before we get to Scientology, I want to end on Scientology, but also, Catherine, I told you that people were saying that, oh, they wouldn't have trafficked her. I had a TikTok. I might insert it here, you guys. But I had a TikTok. I'm so embarrassed. I was laying in the bed. I had no makeup on. It went viral. Of all the TikToks to go viral, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I got over 200,000 views on this one TikTok, and I have no makeup on, and I'm laying in bed, don't even have a bra on, just like
Yeah.
in bed. And I was so pissed though because I saw all these people talking about they wouldn't have trafficked her because she wasn't pretty.
Oh,
I'm sorry, but I am like very concerned about the amount of people who are on this app claiming that there's no way Amy Bradley was, carpooled because she wasn't like beautiful. Is the world just full of sociopaths now? Like, am I living in the Twilight Zone? First of all, this was 1998, and let me tell you something for the people that weren't around in 1998. That haircut that Amy had was quite popular. Quite a few of my friends' mothers sported that haircut in the 90s. My mother might have even sported that haircut at some time. That was a very in vogue haircut. I know looking back now, it doesn't seem that attractive. Trust me, I don't think the 90s was the most attractive decade. I think the 80s was way better, and the 70s was perfection compared to the style of the 90s. But in the 90s, that was considered very stylish. Second of all, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, my friends. It is in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You might behold someone as beautiful, but the person next to you might not behold that same person as beautiful. Or maybe I can say this in a different way for those who are a little bit less educated, more ignorant. Everybody's got a type. Everybody's got a type. I definitely have a type. Definitely have a type. I like men who are like 10 to 15 years older than me. I definitely like athletic men, like not like super bulky. I like very long, lean muscles. Definitely like men who are kind of French, like that aren't like traditional, like my boyfriend's covered in tattoos. He teaches Ashtanga as well. He's a skateboarder, all that kind of stuff. So I have a type, right? And in saying that, if you look at my exes, they all have like the same energy about them, but they all look very different, right? So it's silly to standardize this. Thirdly, third point here, and this is a rather ridiculous point to have to make, but This business, this corporation of carpooling, these people are professionals. They're professionals. They know what they're looking for. They know what they are looking for. And if you look at the pictures of Amy, the alleged pictures, they've definitely changed up her look. So how Amy was dressed as Amy was very indicative of Amy's personality. But once Amy became a product, the template of Amy was what they thought was sellable. And I don't think this was just an opportunistic take. I think Amy was marked. I think this is my opinion, I think these cruise ships have certain employees within the company that know this is going on because they're in international waters, so they make a little something on the side, because these women, these young women, young girls, young boys are it's kind of like, pew-pewing fishes in a barrel, right? Where are they going to go? They're stuck, right? And so I think that when the passengers are embarking onto the boat, they have people scanning them and they're looking for something. They've been looking for a particular look for their catalog, and Amy had that look. So they took her and they changed her. They know, they're curators. They know what they're looking for. They have an eye for what they're looking for. They know what's going to sell. So you're not a curator in this business. Thank God you don't want to be. But these people are professionals. So maybe you don't think Amy was beautiful. You don't behold her as such. But there was something about her that they knew was sellable. And my last point, it kind of sounds like these people who are going around saying, oh, she wasn't pretty, so therefore she wasn't carpooled. You kind of sound like you're jealous. Like, I know that sounds weird, but it sounds a little like you're jealous, which is crazy. Like, why are you focusing so much on her looks and not on the fact that she was abducted against her will? Are you jealous that somebody found her desirable enough to want her to be a product? Is this the kind of messed up world that we live in now? Like, this is bananas. Like, this is absolutely bananas. And back to my first point, if you weren't around in 1998, go look at like fashion magazines from 1998. Go look at those hairstyle magazines that they used to have in the salons from like 1998. I promise you're going to be shocked. Amy was very much in vogue for that time period.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It's at times like this where I completely lose all faith in humanity. And now there are some amazing people out there, but so many people are so horrid to the core that they would even have a thought like that.
Like,
I mean, it's so disgusting that you have to sit there and think, wow, you'd never,
who
Dawn
raised
would
you?
never say that.
Yeah,
Who raised you? What is wrong with you? What has happened in your life to make you even go there? It's disgusting. Do you think that RAPE is based on who's the prettiest? It's control, it's power, it's deviance, it's things. It's got nothing to do with what you look like.
and I even speculated in my TikTok that these people were jealous
Oh,
because
it's
obviously the procurers, the people who curate will say for this enterprise, they know what they're looking for. They
yeah,
know what they're looking for. And so they saw something in Amy that was sellable.
yeah,
She was also very fit. She was a
yeah,
star basketball player, so she probably had a killer body. We don't know. Whatever, but they were looking for something. They talked a lot about her green eyes,
yeah,
a lot. And they can change. Obviously, when we see Amy in the video footage on the boat, she's Amy. But we see her in that picture that I believe is her, where she's being sold. They've changed her whole look.
yeah.
There was something about her. And I just thought also weird, that haircut she had, that was in vogue in
It
1998.
was,
That
yeah,
was in style. I know we look back now and think, oh, the 90s weren't that great, but that was in style back then. I think my mom
mm,
had that haircut. A lot
mm,
of people had that haircut. You know, so these
I
young
think I had that haircut.
we didn't have, and we were saying, Heather, these young kids don't understand. We didn't have Botox and fillers, and
Mm,
people weren't injecting themselves
mm.
back in the late 90s. So this was very natural. So she was very naturally, and if she looked that good natural, because I think
Yeah.
she was really pretty. If she looked that good natural, I can't imagine what she would have looked like
But
done
also,
up,
it's
you
so
know?
disgusting that that is even part of the conversation. They are the same people that say, "Well, what were you wearing when you were attacked?"
Exactly.
You know, and I think this is the sad reality that we've got to of we are so stuck because the brainwashing has been so complete to do victim shaming rather than there are so many holes all over there. You know, if you were making this into a murder mystery, there are so many people you'd immediately go looking at, and unfortunately even the FBI and the police people that were doing it, they were like, well, there's nothing we can do. It was in international waters. We've got no jurisdiction over
Right.
this. Like, what do you mean there's nothing you can do?
I mean,
It's just,
Yellow needs to be his daughter was in a UNA
that
psychiatrist.
was
She didn't
awful.
provide a whole lot,
Yeah.
but she did say she saw him with a suitcase full of pictures of white women.
Yeah.
Why? Like
Why?
when she was younger,
Why?
why? Why do you have a picture? This is a black man. Why
Yeah.
do you have a suitcase full of white women? Even if it was a
And he
suitcase,
was married with a child, you
right?
know.
Like, what is that? Are these cruise pictures where you're taking women to show
Yeah.
somebody to say these are your possibilities?
Yeah. Which one do you want? Yeah.
Right. Is that what's going on? That was the only valuable information she brought. Now,
Yeah.
there's a big, though, kind of interesting plot twist to this story that they left out of the documentary.
Surprisingly, because they didn't want
Surprisingly,
to get sued. So this is all allegedly from now on.
this comes down to Scientology. And
Mm.
this brother had given a lot of information to the documentarians, and they did not even begin to put this. And I would love to talk to Nora or some of our Scientology people to really talk about this because Amy was seen at the pool the day before she disappeared having a long conversation with two women in uniforms that weren't the cruise ship uniforms. Lo and behold, they were Scientologists. Now, back in 1998, once again, you guys, we knew nothing about Scientology back in
No.
1998. There was nothing to be concerned about, but it did stand out because these two women had on a uniform and the Freewinds, which is a Scientology ship, was docked at Carousel. Now, as Brad says, he has sounded the alarm on this. Scientology is now allegedly, for entertainment purposes only, don't come after us, David Miscavige, um, tied to some carpooling.
Mm.
And I've said it before, Catherine. I think, and our late friend Doug was talking about this. I think for Scientology to come down, the government's also going to have to come down because I think they're in bed together.
And did you see one of the things when I was just doing some research before this? Apparently, Kim Kardashian has publicly endorsed the documentary, calling it mind-blowing and urging followers to demand justice for Amy.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just
It's just
saying
interesting
that's very interesting.
because a lot of the big wig celebrities haven't really spoken out about this documentary, have
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
That's very interesting. Is
So, I mean, for me, I watched it and I thought she's definitely, you know, been taken, sold,
100%. Yeah.
controlled probably through children and through substances put into her against her will. And what was awful is also the family was scammed in 1999, where someone who, you know, so there's some horrible people out there. But I think, you know, the unexplained, yeah, Scientology link shrink, that was interesting. But I do think there's a few things that come out to me. One, I think this publicity is really important to raise it up. I personally, Bryce, I don't know what you think, but I don't think it's any coincidence the timing of it when it came out.
I don't either. I don't
We
either.
know that everything in media
Intentional.
is intentional, and it's the scheduling things are they're planned way in advance, and we know it's all there, all in plain sight to brainwash you, to mind control you, to either normalize things or to scramble or confuse or to say this is what we do, what are you going to do about it? And I don't know, I just hope more than hope for the family and for Amy that she is found. I really do, because surely to goodness, the more this is spread, the more difficult it's going to be now with the fact that everyone's got mobile phones. And for a call to decency, for me, it's like there was so, and this was just the few we heard of in the program. On so many occasions, she'd asked for help and she was let down.
Well, there's a trend on TikTok, and I support this, that we need a massive worldwide girls trip to the
Yeah,
islands. A bunch of women just showing up together to
yeah.
those islands and bring it. So all these women, it's kind of funny. Like if you bring a bunch of girls down to those islands, they'll find Amy. We'll find Amy. But a global girls trip to
But
these
I also
islands.
think people need to be really aware of how dangerous these groups
Yes,
are. Because
very
the thing
dangerous.
is, it's very easy to spike someone's drink. It's
Yep,
very easy to jab something into someone as you're passing in the corridor. And I think this is where I think for me it's this fine line between the sensationalism and looking for the truth. I love the fact that people are saying like that, and I'm all out. There is safety in numbers,
yeah,
success in numbers. You can make a difference. So I'm absolutely not saying that's a bad idea. I'm saying that people need to be careful and you need to stick together to do it. We need to stick
absolutely. Don't
together
separate. Yeah, don't separate.
because
Yeah,
it's so easy. One wrong trip to the toilet on your own, one not, trip to go and buy a packet of cigarettes or one. And I think now, look, we have to stop this. Every person matters. When you and I rescue animals, and I remember being in tears on many occasions. I want to take more and I
yeah,
can't take more, and it's heartbreaking for the ones you say no to, and it comes back to, but for everyone you say yes to, you've changed their life. There's loads of people in this situation, but if we say yes to Amy and keep this publicity going, there will be more people that know things. And I think not shaming people that come forward now, there will be people that go on these special holidays that know something. If you know something, swallow your pride
say
and
something.
just do something, regardless of, whether you think it's going to get yourself in trouble or not.
Well, we have one last little evidence that Amy is still alive. This documentary is called Amy Bradley is Missing, and it's named after a website that was developed from a true crime fan down in Australia called Amy Bradley is Missing. And every year at special occasions, family birthdays, Amy's birthday, American holidays, and I'm going to emphasize this, like Thanksgiving, they noticed an
What food
upshoot.
events? Oh,
Yeah. And one of the islands, I think it was Curacao, they noticed an upshoot. I know they move around the islands, guys. I can't remember if it was specifically or Barbados, one of those islands down there. They move over. They're tiny, tiny islands. So forgive me if I'm saying the wrong island, but they noticed an upshoot of somebody logging on during Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, Amy's birthday, and her family members' anniversaries and birthdays. And they would stay on the internet, they would stay on the website for a long time. Like they wouldn't just log on and log off. They would actually, so they family started putting pictures up like on her birthday with the birthday. Makes you emotional.
I know.
So who else is looking at that but Amy? And so that gives the family hope that she is still alive and she is still thinking about them and keeping up with them. And so I'll go a step further. I hope not only is Amy rescued, because I absolutely believe that the only
Yeah,
reason why she has not done more at this point is because she has children.
yeah,
Is the only reason why I think she's just silently doing this, because she is a mother herself now and she is protecting those babies. And I hope to God that if she is rescued, her children are also rescued. And
yeah.
her children, because I'm sure she doesn't know who the father is. I'm sure it's a situation where it was probably well a John will say. And if those babies can be put placed with Amy, I mean, it's gonna be hard for Amy if she comes back to Virginia. Obviously, it's gonna be very hard for her. She's gonna have to go through a lot of therapy, but at least for her children to be put in a home with their grandparents, with their uncle, so that they can be loved not just by their mother, but and secure by a community. It makes me emotional. That was such a
It makes me so emotional, and I forgot about that website. And this is where, I'll backtrack. There's a lot of bad people out there, but there's some few people like that person that put that website together
in
who's not
Australia. A guy in
releasing.
Australia just did it.
Like, what this is what it means by finding your purpose. We have so many discussions where it's like, what is your purpose?
Yeah.
That person who started that website, that is their life purpose. And what a difference you've made. You've kept hope alive, you've kept a door open. This is you. It's so important, and all of us, have got completely different purposes and they're not more important. But whoever started that person is Australia, good on you. What an absolutely amazing thing to have done. So thank you.
I think it's the last episode they interview him in, and just the fact he's all the way
Yeah,
across the world, but he was so touched by this story
yeah,
that he started this website. And it just goes to show you, Catherine, what one voice can do. There was a missing person's case down here in Georgia called the Tara Grimstad case. This was a few years ago. I think the podcast was the Vanished podcast. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I listened to it. Payne Lindsay, he is from Atlanta. He's from Atlanta boy, and he decided one day he liked true crime, and he was just going to randomly pick a missing persons case in Georgia and do a podcast over it. Lo and behold, Catherine, he solved the damn case. There was an arrest made after, I can't remember, like 20 years or something. They made an arrest because he started going, he kept driving down to Osceola, Georgia, which is in South Georgia. It's like 2 hours from Atlanta. So he would get in his car and just drive down there. It's a small town. He started poking around, asking
yeah,
questions, and it made people nervous. And all of a sudden, one thing led to the next, and there was arrest. They found her body. They had not found her body in years. It was in like, I think it, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. It's been a while since I've listened. It was like a pecan farm that they had burned her, and they found so he's just some dude that just decided on a whim to start a
yeah,
podcast. So if there is any, just like the guy in Australia who started,
yeah.
if you feel a longing, if there's a case that's really bugging you,
There's a
Catherine
reason
and I
for
just
it.
opened up our channels. We don't have any other, as far
Mm,
as like broadcasting is concerned. Like we have sponsors now, but when we first started, we just opened our channels with one subscriber,
mm,
So you can do the same thing. So did Payne Lindsay. Of course, his podcast got huge because he broke the case. He wasn't intending to break the case. He just wanted to look at the mystery of it all.
wow.
So you never know what one voice can do
Yeah.
in this world today. And speaking of before, one thing I forgot to do, Catherine, before we sign out, I don't want to get into trouble later. So hold on one second, guys. Let me my boyfriend has opened up a YouTube podcast, a YouTube channel. And let me see if I can get it up here. Let's see here. Here we go. And he has his first video up, speaking of a voice, because there's been a lot of injustices happening in the yoga world. So he's got already got 115 subscribers. His first video
Good.
already has 572 views. He's going to be doing his second video tomorrow, guys. So if you want to, he's trying to right some wrongs in the yoga world. So, and he's very shy. So the fact that he's doing this is huge. So please subscribe to him as well. But that just shows you that one voice can make a difference. You can make a difference. You absolutely can.
You really can. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let be careful in the comments, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking through us on this. You know that real people matter. Every single individual matters, and anything we can do. And I think sometimes when we're looking at the distractions, I think, look, there's a reason why this came up at the same point. So perhaps this could be someone out there might know something. So however far-fetched it seems, please share it with people. We've just got to jog someone's memory.
Yeah, we've got to that this could the little thread, we could just pull this one little thread
Yeah,
and it could lead to other. Amy might know things. Amy might know things if she is
yeah.
rescued that could help other victims too. That could
Mm,
take down the enterprise, you guys. And so I also would just want to advise people to just, I meant to say this in the beginning, part of the missing people from cruise are some of the employees, some of these
mm,
young girls who get summer jobs working for a
mm.
cruise and they go missing. So even the employees aren't safe from this. You guys, please be very careful, especially if you're young or you have a young daughter that particularly maybe wants to do this as a summer job. Just please be careful and understand that there is a risk involved with these cruise lines. Allegedly, we don't want to get sued, allegedly. Um, so they are in international waters, so they don't have the protection that you would in like UK or in the United States. You're in lawless land. So just be very, very, very careful. I will end on a funny. My mother is actually on a cruise right now. She's over, they poured it off of Amsterdam. They're actually near you. They're going through all over the seas up there. Very different kind of cruise. But we were texting and she was all nervous because this documentary came out. She was scared for her safety, and I had to kind of break it to her that I
Yeah,
don't think they're interested in 70-year
yeah.
olds.
Let's hope not. Yeah,
Love you,
yeah,
Mom. You're beautiful at 70, but I don't think I don't think you have anything to worry about. I don't think they're gonna go on over. I don't think they're looking for 70-year-old grandmothers. I don't think that's
yeah. Thank
So,
goodness.
so
Those are great advantages of getting older, there you are. So,
right.
but thank you so much. Thanks so much for everyone watching.
Yes, and next week, guys, again, all of Catherine's links will be down below. We'll be back next week over on Catherine's channel. And please, please, please share this out and send Amy and her family so much love. And we will talk to you all very soon. Bye,
Take care,
everybody.
everyone. Bye.